Welcome to another edition of Between Sundays, and we're still going with this wisdom of looking for it, of how do we find it, how do we get it, how do we allow wisdom to become our pursuit and our way of life so that we live better lives. How do we live wisdom with God? So for today, we are finishing up chapter 4 of Ecclesiastes, which is this book of wisdom and about observational wisdom. And so it's chapter 4, verses 13 through 16. A poor but wise youth is better than an old and foolish king who no longer listens to advice. He emerged from prison to become king, even though during his rule a poor child is born. I saw all who live and walk under the sun following the next youth who would rise to take his place. There was no counting the number of people he ruled, but those who came later aren't happy with him. This too is pointless and a chasing after wind. So we get yet this chasing after the wind of what is the point of ruling, of what is the point as a leader, because there are going to be leaders. You know, once we're done leading, there's always going to be something else. But it's really kind of interesting. A poor but wise youth is better than an old and foolish king who no longer listens to advice. So you've got an older king who has ruled for many years but will not listen to anybody else, will not listen to the advice of others. And we have to understand that those who would have been reading this many centuries ago, millenniums ago, or hearing it told to them, automatically assume that the young person is the foolish person, the young person is the poor person, that the older king is the one to be held up, the one that we want to look towards. But even then, we got to be careful. We got to be careful of the preconceived notions that we have, because as it points out, this young and poor, which wouldn't have been thought of very well at this time, but this young and poor person is a better king because he listens to advice, because the old and foolish king has said no more. But to also recognize that even that person, their life, their rule is going to come, their leadership is going to come to an end. And so then someone else will come along, and this person even comes from prison. This person is able to change and develop and lead in a different way. Doesn't mean everybody likes that person. And so here we have to think about this leadership, about what do we want to give while we have it? How do we want to listen to advice? How do we want to be wise? How do we want to lead in such a way that gives life instead of stamping it out? Because ultimately, someone's going to come after us. But have we left our lives, the lives around us that we have connection with, have we left them better than what we found? And what if we looked at leadership that way, that tries to leave a better place, a better situation, better than whenever they came into it? And what if we took that on as part of our philosophy? That we recognize that at some point we all die, right? We all move on. We all go through different phases of our lives. But what if we took the stance, the philosophy, the wisdom of saying, you know what? I'm going to try my best. I recognize I may fail, but I'm going to try to leave this place better than what I found it. How would our actions, our perceptions, our perspectives, the way that we interact, how does that begin to change? So today, that's what I want to kind of leave you with, of thinking about how not only do we leave this place better than what we found it, but how do we begin to instill that in others? How do we instill that in those that we do have connection to? How do we allow ourselves to not only live that piece of wisdom, but also to share it, to energize people around that? What if all of us began to live by the piece of wisdom of leaving this place better than what we found it? Have a good one.